Where's the Zombie U review, you may ask? Well, I delayed it because I've been neglecting my 360 a lot lately, and I needed a reason to turn it on.
I was adding some games to my review schedule and saw that the next time my 360 was going to be on was towards the end of May, and the last time it was used was in January when I did the Mass Effect Trilogy review. If I stuck to that current schedule, it would have been 4 months since it was on, and since all the games I have for it already played, I needed to get something to justify turning it on. I have a few systems in my house. The PlayStation 3 gets used the most. It's my Blu-ray player, Netflix, and Amazon Prime streaming device, and it's the system I own the most games for. It's my all-in-one entertainment device. Next is the PlayStation 4. I've used it quite a bit because, well, it's the new system added to the bunch. I just gotta play it. Next is another Sony system, my PS Vita, followed by the Wii U, 3DS, and then the 360.
It probably sounds like I'm a Sony fanboy right now, but surprisingly, I'm not. I'm not really a fanboy of anything, actually. This is just how things worked out.
I use the PS3 for Sony exclusives, while my 360 is used for multi-platform games along with original Xbox and 360 exclusives. And I haven't gotten a multi-platform game in a while, and it's been a long time since I reviewed a licensed game. And I like South Park, so I bought this. When I first heard about it, I was wondering why they would bother. Licensed games almost never fare well, and most of them are very poor in quality. And the previous South Park games were usually met with poor reception. I played the very first South Park game on the PC years ago. It was a first-person shooter. I couldn't play it at all as upon completion of the first level, the game would crash. Selecting certain weapons would cause the game to crash. It just didn't work for me at all. And a lot of good things were said about this game before it was even out, and there was a lot of high hopes.
And then the game was delayed several times and was even threatened of being cancelled due to THQ going bankrupt.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone approached Obsidian Entertainment to make a South Park game, and they wanted to be in on the development because they had no control in the development of the previous games. In November of 2012, the game was announced to be delayed until April of 2013. In January of 2013, Ubisoft bought the rights to the game and it was delayed to an unknown time. It was then said to be out in December of 2013, and that October they delayed it to March. Now it's March and finally the game is out. The Kinect support was dropped, and I'm not sure if the DLC packs that were supposed to come around were canned. There's another thing that I'm not sure of. I heard that this game was originally supposed to be a $15 digital title on the 360 and PS3, and the reason they delayed it so much was because Ubisoft wanted to put it on a disc, have a PS3 version, and slap a $60 price tag on it.
That part is a rumor, but it's a rumor that makes sense. It is a shady thing to do, and lately Ubisoft has been doing some kinda shady things. Or do I need to remind you about the Watchdog videos?
They wanted to recreate the show's 2D paper cutout look, and they did an amazing job. The game looks and is animated exactly like the show. The voices are all the same, the characters are all the same, giving it a very authentic feel. The music is pretty good, it's very fantasy-based, which fits the theme of what's going on, and I'll get into that later. You even get to create your own character, and the level of customization is pretty deep. And you'll even pick up things along the way to customize your appearance in how you see fit. Gameplay-wise, it's a 2.5D RPG with turn-based combat. You can select up to 4 different classes: Warrior, Mage, Thief, and Jew. The Warrior, Mage, and Thief are self-explanatory. The Jew is like a monk or berserker, becoming stronger the lower their health is. It's a high-risk, high-reward type, and the attacks are silly and offensive, but that's South Park.
I chose to go with the Warrior, but in RPGs I usually go for the Warrior-Mage hybrid class. Like in Skyrim I chose the Breton, and in WoW I use a Death Knight, and so on and so forth, because those are the classes that I like.
Each class gets their own weapons and armor, and learn about 5 special abilities unique to them. I found myself using the Warrior's Rochambeau the most, as it's powerful and easy to pull off. Aside from abilities, you can use melee attacks. You get a regular attack, a power attack, and a fart attack. You can also modify your weapons with enchantments to do extra damage or inflict elemental damage and status ailments. If you've played the Paper Mario or any Mario RPG series, combat works exactly like it. You select an attack, and just before the attack happens, you hit a button at the right time and you'll do extra damage. Same thing goes for blocking. Tap the button at the correct time and you'll block it. It only mitigates the damage, it doesn't fully absorb it, so you'll still take some damage.
It's like the love child of Mario RPGs and Conker's Bad Fur Day, and that's putting it lightly. If Conker is here, South Park is way up there.
Combat is pretty easy. You're allowed to use items and attacks in the same turn, allowing you to restore your health, power points, or mana, or revive your teammate. And you can only have 1 out of 5 characters as your buddy, but you can't switch between them freely, so it's like having more than 2 party members. Stand-in butters I found to suit my playstyle more, which is more offensive. And after combat, you get all your health and power points back, and all status ailments disappear. You can also get a preemptive strike against enemies by hitting them with your weapon in the overworld. And you can use objects in the overworld to defeat your enemies, like making light fixtures drop on them.
It's an easy game. and you can complete the main story in about 9 or 10 hours, which really makes you wonder if this was meant to be a cheaper digital title.
The game takes place in current-day South Park. The boys of the town are playing a game as two warring factions. They're LARPing, which is live-action role-playing. Your custom character is the new kid in town who gets involved when you help Butters. The game is broken up into 3 chapters, each chapter spanning the course of a day. I'm not going to spoil the story at all because that's where all the humor is derived from. The humor is that classic South Park, where bizarre things happen in the town for just being bizarre. It's not trying to be preachy and send a subtle political message. There's strange things that happen and it's stupid, but it's funny because that's the world of South Park.
There are things in this game that are so wrong yet so funny, and I wish I could show them to you, but that would ruin the surprise, and some of them are quite graphic and not YouTube friendly, and if you've already played this game, you probably already know what I'm talking about.
There were some things that I found to be extremely frustrating about this game. There's a minigame, and I won't say which one it is, but it's a reference to the Woodland Critters Christmas episode. In this minigame, you need to rotate the analog stick, and given what you're doing, you'd think you have to spin it slowly, but actually you need to spin it fast. The game doesn't tell you or give you any indication if you're doing it correctly, and you'll see the game over screen several times until you hop onto the internet and look up a guide to see what you're doing wrong. The tutorial sections can be incredibly annoying too for certain things. It will show you how to do something and then will display a tooltip for you to follow when you get to do it. But if you fail, you have to watch and listen to the game repeat the tutorial again and you can't skip it. The most annoying being when Randy teaches you the sneaky squeaker. It feels like it's a 10-second tutorial animation that you can't skip.
Come on, the tooltip is there and I'm doing it exactly as it says, yet I still fail. And why is that? Well, because there's extra information that the game doesn't give you.
I'm not the only one who's noticed this. When I got stuck at the sneaky squeaker and minigame sections, I took to the internet to see what I needed to do. I found a bunch of posts on Steam forums where people were trying to figure out what to do, so I wasn't the only one. I eventually figured out that it was more about timing than anything else. And after all that time, you only needed to use the sneaky squeaker ability for one section and it's never needed again. But again, the sneaky squeaker tutorial and the minigame are the only 2 sections where I got frustrated. Other than that, the game was a breeze. If you like South Park, you're going to love this game. It's a really authentic experience worthy of the South Park name. However, I feel that $60 is too hefty of a price tag for the amount of content that you get for an RPG. I probably would have felt more comfortable paying $30. But I did enjoy the writing and was very entertained and was laughing the entire time. And the gameplay was done really well and I had fun with it.
I think I'd have to say that this game is pretty good. It left me wanting more, but who knows, maybe there'll be some DLC expansions, because this is the perfect game for it.